This is Scott from KIG. It's April 10th, 2017, and we're going to do a couple runoff videos of this brand new E-Chill, Econo Chill, 2017 10-ton air-cooled chiller. This is a 230 volt 3-phase unit, serial number 3764 with our 410A refrigerant. We're going to have the covers off for most of the test, except for this one cover here. This side cover has to be on there for appropriate airflow through the condenser. We have our 10 horsepower Copeland scroll compressor, single one, R410A, inside the main body of the unit. It does have a crankcase heater on there. When you first put power to the unit, it's good to keep that on for at least 12 hours or so. That keeps the refrigerant warm, and it's ideal in cold weather solutions also, or situations. Those metal brackets right there, those are shipping brackets. If you loosen up those bolts, those 4 brackets should come out before you run it in its regular intended environment. It's okay to run it a little bit here for the testing that way. It's just going to be a little bit louder as far as the vibration goes. Here we have our high-low refrigerant switches. Those you should not adjust. We also have a freeze stat that senses the temperature of the suction line. Here we have all our controls and our relays. This unit has some fairly sophisticated timers and bypass timers and such to achieve a couple different things. One of them is a low pressure bypass on startup in a cold environment. That'll ignore a low pressure situation for a certain period of time, so you don't get any nuisance trips. There's also a timer in here to help us, a minimum run time timer. Copeland has a minimum specification on how long the compressor should run to avoid too high of too many cycles, too many starts. It also has that in there with those adjustable timers. You shouldn't need to adjust any of those. Here we have our fan speed control. That's part of the low ambient circuit. Also up underneath here is a fan speed switch. So this achieves low ambient capability both by fan speed control and on-off fan switching. We also have our phase monitor here. If when you first start the unit up it's in the wrong phase, you'll probably see a red light come on this here. We also have, well, when you do first start up the unit, it is phase dependent, and you should check that with the pump rotation here, and that should be going clockwise from the rear. And here we have our high and low refrigeration ports if a technician ever needs to put on a set of gauges on the unit. This unit's outfitted with a upgraded 3 horsepower process pump, and the way this unit is piped is there's 2 ways you can pipe chillers like this. In this case here we've piped it so we're drawing from the tank, then out into the heat exchanger, then out to the process, and then it returns freely here back into the tank. What this allows us or affords us is that any pressure requirements of that brazed plate heat exchanger are first met. Then you can go out to your process and you can actually return back to the unit effectively at zero pressure. Now, for filling this, you can to fill the tank up when you get it, you can do one of 2 things. We do have a drain that has a shut-off there. You can either hook up a hose, you're probably going to be running Glycol, a hose and a pump, and you can pump it in that way. Or it's good practice, per the manual, if you want to put a T here with the top of the T facing upwards for the initial filling, and you put a cap on that. Ideally, you want to have some shutoffs both at your inlet and outlet. And then for this application where your supply meets the return, you should put either a shutoff or, even better, a pressure relief bypass valve. And we'll email the customer, or can email anybody who's interested in learning more about what part to get. And here we have our water pump pressure gauge too. We do have these shutoffs here at the pump. They both ship in the open position, should be left in the open position. Here is our temperature sensor. We're actually sensing the temperature of the fluid discharging out of the pump. So effectively, we're sensing the tank temperature. For that reason, there'll be a little bit of a fluctuation because the water is always going through the heat exchanger, but it's only when the compressor is on that you're going to see cooling. However, we're sensing the tank temperature, and things kind of average out. We may have to ultimately play with the differential setting on the controller to meet a happy medium for your set point temperatures. There's our thermal expansion valve and a refrigerant sight glass and a positive line shut off for the refrigerant. We're going to start the next video in a second after I put the side cover on. I'm going to start power up and start chilling.